All right, hello OAS family. It is time for another book review, and we have a special travel edition of the OAS book reviews today. I am in Palm Desert at a ballroom dance competition, but I will be here bringing you your weekly book review. And today we are going to be reviewing Aquatic Life by Johnson Su-sing Chow. And this is book number 4 in a 4-book series that is called Vegetables, Fruits, Insects, and Aquatic Life Paintings. So we're gonna talk about the rough details before we get into the specifics. The book is approximately 100 and about 110 pages long, and it has text in both Chinese and English. And so we're going to get right into the book here. Got a little forward information, giving you some biographical information about Su-sing Chow. Su-sing Chow actually just recently passed away, and he left a legacy of course, beautiful paintings, but also was one of the most formidable cultural ambassadors, encouraging people to appreciate the beauty of Chinese painting and Chinese culture. So very grateful for him having spent his life doing that. So we're gonna get here. Then this is an overview on the actual subject matter, the particular cultural significance of all the various things that are covered in this sort of aquatic life category. And here we have our first painting. We have some small fishes here in this like sequential stroke, so you can see that they take the subject from a single stroke and then show you how they fill in the details, and then different facings here in this signed. It's like an elements painting, showing you the different elements of this small fish. And then there's also a bit about the cultural significance of this subject here, and Johnson Chow does that quite a bit and does it quite well. So we have here placing this small fish element inside of a composition that features Chinese hibiscus. And then once again, as an element in this arrowhead flower painting, we featured this in a previous email. So this is the page that shows you like the elemental breakdown of all the components in that painting, and there's a little bit of written instruction in there as well. So this is what they call fishes in abbreviated style. This is talking about since the Ming Dynasty that there's this free or simplified style was the more dominant trend, and the details of the form were abbreviated, and there was emphasis placed on the spirit of the subject. So that is this sort of spontaneous style or Sumi-e style painting, where people are focusing on expressing the spirit of the subject rather than the exact physical appearance of it. So here is an element breakdown of that fish, showing a little sequentially how they do the outline, and then they fill in with the various details. And they also do that with these smaller fish here, so you can see that. And showing like a shoal of fish. And here's a feature on the red swordtail. So this is a very interesting, there is a pretty rich tradition of ornamental fish keeping in Asia and in China as well. And having worked in the ornamental fish industry, these fish are really iconic fish to keep in aquariums. They are a live-bearing fish, so the males have the sword in the tail and the females do not. These fish are actually a live-bearing fish, so rather than propagate by laying eggs, the female will actually mature the eggs inside her body and gave birth to live fish. And so these red swordtails are a very iconic fish that people keep in aquariums. And little sequential instruction here on how to render these red swordtails. And then here's another form of red swordtail, which has a black tail and a red body, with a little aquatic plant in the background. And then these are black lyretail mollies. Again, another live-bearing fish. These are actually brackish water fish, the mollies. They'll survive in partially salty water as well. And shown with this sort of fan-shaped aquatic plant in the background. And then here's a little sequential breakdown instruction on the black lyretail molly. And another finished composition here on the left featuring the molly, and more elemental breakdown here on the right. So continuing on in this sort of ornamental fish category, we have the iconic angelfish. So this is the angelfish, belongs to the cichlid family and is native to the Amazon River in South America. Here's little sequential illustrative instruction of how to build that fish from simpler strokes onto the finished fish there. A few suggestions of these aquatic plants. If I had to choose, I know my aquatic plants pretty well. That might be like a Vallisneria plant, this little grass-like plant, bladed grass-like plant. It's very common in South America. So here's some more sequential instruction for the angelfish. Now we're getting on into shrimp. So these are some large clawed shrimp that are being shown here. And then elemental stroke breakdown of these freshwater shrimp. And then finished composition here of a trio of shrimp, and then again another elemental breakdown from simpler to the full element. So this is a lobster painting. So we're getting into different kinds of shellfish now. And this is lobster rendering. Could also work for a crayfish. They have very similar bodies. It's just really the difference between the two is more of a matter of size. So these are kind of like, these claws are kind of like crayfish claws. Now we can see these different claws. These are more of the claws that we think about in a lobster. So again, the full element here on the left, and then a sequential breakdown here on the right. Now we have this lake crab. It's really sort of adorable rendering of this lake crab clutching on to this overhanging flower. And then a different elemental breakdown here of the lake crab, showing the few strokes that are used to make the body, and then adding the legs, and then onto the finished crab, which has the claws included. And here's some more finished composition on the left-hand side, and then an elemental breakdown on the right. And then here's sea crab. So we went from freshwater crab to saltwater crab. See the bigger crabs, bigger claws. elemental breakdown here on the right hand side. And more sea crabs. Final composition here on the left hand side of a pair of crabs, and then on the right we have the sort of stroke build up. Now we're on to the iconic goldfish. So lots of interest in goldfish in China and Asia, lots of breeding of ornamental goldfish, and very deep symbolism for goldfish and carp in general. So here's on the right hand side a sequential stroke buildup illustration of a black goldfish here. And then we have a finished painting on the left hand side of some fantail goldfish, and then a stroke buildup on the right hand side. Catfish. This painting on the right is wonderful, spontaneous single stroke there for the body of the catfish and the tail, and then some smaller strokes to add the details. So lots of great inspiration here for this kind of shei or simplified style, where you could see just a few strokes are used to create the idea of this catfish. And now we see the catfish with other small fishes. So we see different kinds of fish in a single painting. And then more of a stroke build up on the right. And then this is a fish that they're calling a Mandarin fish. It's an interesting type of fish. I wonder what kind of fish actually. It looks kind of like a bass with the large mouth and the colorations, but Johnson Chow calls it a Mandarin fish. And then here's another stroke build up of the Mandarin fish subject with some willow branches in the background. Then here on the left-hand side is Mandarin fish with some fallen flowers, and then stroke buildup on the right-hand side here. And now we're into carp. So once again, carp is a wonderful symbol in China of longevity. So they're often, carp imagery, and even the fish themselves are exchanged to people, between people as well wishes for a long life. And here is this wonderful stroke build up here where you can see these really energetic strokes that are used to create the body, and then the head and the scales are added afterwards for the detail. Here we have another carp on the left-hand side here, and then another sequential stroke illustration on the right. Now we're getting into koi, which are in the carp family, but as we know, the koi are the decorative, pretty carps. And if you don't know, in Japan, there's a huge amount of attention paid to breeding koi fish, and they can sell for tens of thousands of dollars. So make sure if you have one of those Japanese koi in your backyard that you protect it from the raccoons. Otherwise, that will be a very, very expensive meal for your local raccoon. Here's a sequential stroke buildup here of a vermilion koi on the right-hand side. And then showing how the koi can be a wonderful vehicle to express a color palette. mean, when they're breeding koi, that's really what they're doing. They're really expressing an artistic intention as they breed the different colors and different patterns into the fish. And so it's a really great subject for an artist. Lots of room for creative expression. These are shells, conch, barnacle, clam, mussel, different these sort of, I think they're called bivalve shellfish creatures. And then here's another sort of mussel, conch, clam, and limpet sketch showing sort of sequential stroke buildup for each of these different animal subjects. And then here's another one, final composition on the left-hand side, and again, sequential stroke buildup on the right. And then we finish with a tortoise. So it'll be interesting to see if translation-wise there is a difference in word between turtle and tortoise, because this is an aquatic book, and when we use the word tortoise here in the West, we refer to a land animal, but turtle is usually the word used for something that goes into the water. But here's this tortoise subject, really delightful. And then we have a stroke buildup of the tortoise here on the right-hand side. And then this adorable finished painting with large tortoise, large mother tortoise and children, and stroke breakdown here on the right-hand side. And that will basically close the book. So that is Aquatic Life by Johnson Su-sing Chow. If you want more information about the book, or if you want to purchase the book, you can visit our website at orientalartsupply.com. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe our channel. We have a lot of content related to Chinese brush painting and culture, and we appreciate you watching, and we wish you happy painting.